Globespan is a Guyanese dialogue moving towards the realization of one nation in one Guyana. It's a platform that offers an all-inclusive discussion with the pros, the cons, the ones that have taken a side, and the ones that stand in the middle. Globespan believes agreeing and disagreeing are part of the nation building. Globespan believes that every Guyanese voice is part of the nation building. As we span the globe for voices from the diaspora and those living home, we stand on our commitment that we are all Guyanese working towards one nation in one Guyana.
This land is our land now.
As the world turns on its axis, bringing changes, we as Guyanese must adapt to those changes for a better Guyana for all. Globespan stands on its axis with its belief that one nation, one Guyana, one destiny must include voices from all corners of Guyana.
We ain't giving up no river that belong to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain.
Good night to all our listeners and to all our sponsors out there and to all our friends. Please tune in to us. We are coming to you live on Globespan television here in New York. Tonight we have as our guest, the former president of Guyana, Mr. Donald Ramotar. But before I get to him, I want you all to know that this program has been made available by Mr. Noir Singh and by our two technical directors, Mr. Devin Bissoon and Mr. Ryan Gobin. And I want you all to know as well that we are a fair and balanced network. We do not take sides. We let our guests explain the situation, and you, our viewers, will be the ones to judge them by making your comments and so forth. And I also want to say that we can be heard on Facebook, YouTube, and all the other social networks. So we broadcast it like tonight's topic is all about politics, the cost of living. The former president, he always like to have a broad range of topics because he's very versed in discussing these issues. And he's very skillful in addressing and analyzing all the various issues that is happening in the country right now. So we'll be focusing on every single issue. The two major parties, the role of the third parties, including the new party there, WIN, and the other small third parties. So we'll talk about all those issues and what impact they have on this election. We don't know. We will only know that until after the votes are being cast, but we can always prognosticate and make our suggestions known to people what we think, but what we think is not necessarily what will happen. So to all our listeners, we welcome you to this program. And if it's Monday night, you're listening to Globespan Television with me, your host, Dr. Asquith Rose. So, President Ramotar, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And you're not new to Globespan. You came on here a few times before, and you've always been very versatile in all the issues and so forth. But tonight I want to ask you, it seems to me, and it seems to the World Bank and other international organizations, that the poverty rate is increasing in Guyana and cost of living is on the rise still, even though the government is trying to abate it. Tell us about the poverty rate. What do you think about that? Why we having such a high poverty rate when we have oil, when we have natural resources, when we have minerals and everything else, rice and everything else?
I think probably the World Bank, I think they themselves, I remember reading somewhere where they themselves said they were using data that was a bit dated, that they're not really sure what it is at this point in time. Because I don't have the figures and I haven't seen any study done recently. But just from observation, it looks to me as if poverty has gone down. In fact, there is sometimes a lot of people have been complaining of getting people to work. There seems to be a shortage of labor within the society in many areas now. But yes, that doesn't mean to say that there's not poverty, what I'm saying, but I don't think it's as widespread as it is being made. And secondly, I think the government has been doing a commendable job in trying to tackle it. A lot of the issues are outside of their control, but the things that they're doing, like removing taxes from a lot of food items, subsidy, like particularly things like fuel and so on and so forth, that really impact on the cost of living. Reduce taking out VAT and on different articles and so forth. But I think they can't. A lot of the inflation that we're having in the country is really imported inflation at this point in time, and that the imported inflation is also having an impact on the local food supply because the market vendors and so forth who have to buy things that are imported, they've got to sell their produce to try to meet that. So it's a bit of a complicated issue, but I would say that uh, from all the experiences that we've had, not only from the PNC up to 1992, but the 5 years, 2015 to 2020, that they were in government, and the 5 years that the PPP has been in government from 2020 to now, I think that the PPP has been doing a much better job in the sense that they have been dealing with cutting the taxes, removing things. In the previous 5 years, the PNC they were not doing that. In fact, they were adding taxes on issues. So a lot of the I think we have to now look more and more at producing more of our own food that we consume. And maybe we should be starting back a type of campaign that we have. Remember that we had a campaign in the 60s and under Bonham too. We had a campaign about consume what you produce and so forth. So I think we have to popularize our food that we produce because you saw also that I think one of the international institutions said that we are the only country in the world that can produce all the food that we need to consume. And therefore, I think our job and the job of the next government is to popularize the food that we produce. And in fact, I had a conversation one time with the Minister of Agriculture, and I was telling him that he should have a meeting with the supermarkets to tell them to put the goods that we produce in the front of the front shelves, popularize them more, let people eat more of what we produce, and educate them that these are far better quality. I mean, for instance, we import honey into this country, but we produce honey. And the quality of honey that we produce in Guyana is far better than anything that we import. So I think that we have the capacity to do more work on what we produce, and we should concentrate more on production, and that will help with the cost of living, I think.
President Promotor, what is puzzling to me in Guyana is this. We know foodstuff, fruits and vegetables are very expensive. But if you go to the Penitence Market, you go to Starbrook Border, you go to Monrepo, you go to New Amsterdam, you go to Port Moran, you go to Skeldon, there's an abundance of fruits and vegetables there. People are begging you to buy. So why are they still so expensive? Is the production to produce it so that people don't want to sell less?
No. I think it's no. As I tell you, that these people got to buy other goods too. The people who sell these goods, they have to buy. They have to buy goods. So they're trying to sell their produce that they produce to allow them to buy what they need and some of the things that are imported in our country. That is part. That is why I'm saying that a lot of the inflation in the society is being driven from outside. Prices coming up, the rising from outside. Transportation costs, shipping of containers, and so forth have gone up in a pretty big way, and those are some of the factors that are pushing up the cost of living. And I think also, I know that a lot of people say that we are oil producing country, but we are a relatively new oil producing country. We've not been producing oil for so long, so I think we have to give credit to what we have done so far with the oil money, which I believe is the right thing that they do in building our infrastructure, creating the conditions for future development so that we will, even after oil, that we will have the infrastructure where we can develop more and more.
So, but the fruits I'm talking about are being produced locally here. I have seen people prefer to take the rotten bananas home and throw it away rather than reduce the price. Does that make sense? Maybe something I don't know.
No, well, I mean, I agree with you. Some people are like that. I'm sure that there will be others who will definitely reduce the price to try to sell off the goods that they have, you know.
Now, let me ask you this question. You were president once. Cost of living was not this high, but how would you tackle this cost of living problem?
Well, I don't see that I could do a great much more. I can do a great deal more than what is being done now. I think what is being done now, I don't see what else I could have been doing, because, as I said, my theory is that the price rise is being pushed from imported commodities. And I told you already what the price. I mean, you heard it already. They are how much it costs to import a container of goods from China, different parts of the world, and so forth. And so it's being driven from outside. And what the government is doing is what they have control of. They are like taking off taxes from fuel. If they didn't take off taxes from fuel, things would be far, far, far higher. Take off taxes from essential commodities, subsidizing a lot of stuff, and so on and so forth. So I don't see that I could have done a great deal more than what is being done now.
The government has given the cash grants. Some people are saying they should not because this is making people dependent. Others are saying it's something welcome to help people ease the pressure on them so that they get excess money to buy stuff and so forth. What are your views on this? There are pros and cons on this.
Yeah,
what are your views on the cash grant?
Yeah, you're right. It has pros and cons. I suppose at a certain level, it is good to have some of these cash transfer. People get money in the pocket. People can spend. They wouldn't go hungry. They got at least a minimum amount of money that they can use. But I think if it goes, and that is one of the things I've been looking at when you look at the election campaign at this point in time, a lot of parties are promising to increase giving free money to people and so forth. And I think that we can reach a point where it could become a negative aspect for us. It can create a dependency situation, because there's quite a lot of money being given away in many cases, and that can also have an impact on people turning out to work and people adjusting to live on whatever free money they're getting, and not trying to use their initiatives to make more and things like that. And a lot of these things go right across the board. It's not only concentrated for the poor. Let's say like the money for the children in school. It's not only children who goes to the public school, whose parents sometimes can't afford to pay for private school and so forth. But this money is being paid to private school children, most of whom, I know that there are some people who make a lot of sacrifice to send their children to private school, but a lot of them who go there are people who could afford it. So there's a lot of these things that goes across the board. I think probably government is responding to their general criticism that they normally get from the opposition about discrimination and so forth. So when they go right across the board, when they make these things universal, it makes it difficult for anybody to accuse them of discriminating against anyone else.
I hear you on that, and it's quite true, but the problem still remains. Now, let me ask you a question concerning cash grants, and I'll stick on cash grants for this question here. It should be given to everyone, or some people should be left out? When I say some people, I'm talking about the rich.
Well, when I was president, remember, I was the one who started, it's under my presidency that we started to give out this tool. It was a small amount, $10,000 per person. We didn't have oil and so forth at that time, anyhow. And we gave it to the people in the public schools. I didn't think about giving it to the children in the private school because I thought that the very fact that they were going to the private school showed that they were much better off than those children who were going to the public schools. And that is how I was thinking. And I also think that there should be some level of giving people, not just giving them the money, but that we should tie it down to some other criteria to make them responsible to. For instance, giving money to parents for the children to go to school to ensure that at least it must be have an attendance of 85, 90% of the time. Before that, it should be tied to that. It should be tied to things like making sure that the children have their vaccines, that they go into the clinics, that they things like that, that they're all right. And not just handing them the money like that. I believe that they should have some type of responsibility as well.
So you're saying that when you were giving it, you didn't give it to the private school student parents because you thought they were well off?
I think that they were people who could probably afford it, and they didn't need it, put it that way. But of course, nobody refuses money when you give.
Let me throw this question out to you at the start. Some companies or some private parties are throwing out the idea that they're going to increase the old age pension to $100,000. By the way, President Ramatar, you're the former president. Are you getting old age pension?
I'm entitled to old age pension, but I also get a pension too as a former president.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you also collect old age pension?
I think I do, yes.
Okay. I just want to know that. Quite a few questions coming in, and let me warn our listeners again, I cannot ask all your questions, but I'll ask this one of President Ramatar. This person is saying that you were in Gaisuku board for a number of years, and Gaisuku wasn't making money. Did you make any recommendations that say, oh, Gaisuku should be solvent?
You know, the Gaisuku's problem began when the price of sugar to Gaisuku was cut by 36%.
Right.
And we had to make a lot of adjustments for that and so forth. But what I want you to take note of is that we did have a crisis in Gaisuku while I was president at the time, while I was in government at the time. Not when I was on the board, but when I was president, we had a big problem because at that time the Skeldon wasn't coming on stream as we expected it. It should have come, and that had a big impact on us too. The investment we made at Skeldon. But if you look from the time that I was president, the sugar production never fell. It kept going up, and at 2014, it was going right back up. It was past 200 and something thousand tons. And 2015, it was increased tremendously. Of course, part of the 2015 was the forest crop that I was in government for the forest crop. And the government changed the second crop, the PNC was in government. But I would like you to note that in 2014 and 2015, I'm sure about 2015, but I'm almost sure about 2014 too, that Skeldon produced the biggest amount of sugar in that year. So we were solving all the problems. I don't know why the PNC closed down Skeldon, because all the problems we were solving, all the difficulties and the problems that it had, we were correcting those problems, and our production was going up. Our plan was working, and our plan was that by 2017 we would have been breaking even, and after 2017 we would have been in the black. The PNC abandoned that plan, even against their own commission of inquiry that they set up that told them that they shouldn't close any of the sugar estates. They went and closed their estates and closed Skeldon, they closed Wales, and so on and so forth, and knocked off workers. And I don't think they gave the attention to the sugar industry. They thought that maybe they would have made up the money from oil. But under my presidency, the production continued to go up, and we were reducing the problems at the sugar industry, and we were on the verge of making the sugar industry profitable once again.
You said that the PEP had a plan to make sugar cane solvent by 2017.
Right.
So that plan should be somewhere. For the past
Well,
5 years, have you seen them embark on that plan?
I didn't keep it in my pocket. It was at Gaisuko's board level as well. So all those documents would have been available at Gaisuko all the time within their records and so forth. They should have had it. Dr. Raj Singh, who was the CEO, well, under my thing, Raj Singh was the CEO for just over a year, and I think he made a very big impact in turning the industry around. I mean, his leadership, and not only him, his leadership, I think, was. I think he had the kind of managerial style that Gaisuko actually needed at the time to bring it around. My regret is that I didn't put him in earlier. I think a lot of Gaisuko's problem is management. A lot of okay, now they have a lot of technical challenges as well because of how the industry had been treated since 2015 when I left government. And I don't think the PNC put in any kind of investment into it and so forth. And it went down in a pretty bad way. And now this government has put in quite a bit of resources into it. My own view is that we should have seen far better returns for the level of inputs that have been put into Gaisuko. We should have been seeing much better results on that. But I think a lot of it has to do with management and has to do with understanding the industry, having a better understanding of the industry. It's an agricultural industry. There's a lag. There's quite a bit of a lag from the time you put in money into it and when you will get back your money because of the nature of the industry itself.
So you're saying you had a plan to make Gaisuko solvent by 2018. But my question to you, your plan, you said you didn't have it in your pocket, so you got to be somewhere around. Has this government been using the plan for the past 5 years?
I don't know. I'm not in a position to answer that question either. Okay. You got to ask that to the Minister of Agriculture.
Okay. Now, another question to you is this: agriculture, rice. There's a big problem with rice right now. Rice farmers are complaining all across the country that the price for the paddy is too low. Rice of itself, it costs a lot more to produce than what is being sold from the world market. How do we solve that problem?
Well, one of the things that I think that we should have done is when sugar was in the hand of Bookers years ago in the 60s and so forth, or the 40s, they created some funds. They created one of the funds that they created was a stabilization fund. I believe maybe there should be some thought going to use that experience and see if it's possible to create a stabilization fund within the rice industry itself. Because there are times when the price of rice goes up pretty sharply, and then you have problems at times when the price of rice falls. And that is where I think in order to have more predictability and for farmers to be able to plan on a kind of an income, maybe we should think about using the experience that the sugar people used to use and establishing stabilization fund, so that because of the market mechanism that we use, so when the price goes down, we can still be able to give the people a kind of a price that they would be able to live on.
The presidential candidate for APNU, Mr. Aubrey Norton, has said that if he's elected president of this country, he will renegotiate the PSA agreement so the Guyanese can benefit more. Is he saying this because he's in opposition and he may or may not be elected? Or should we renegotiate the PSA to give Guyanese better terms and condition of the wealth?
And you and I spoke about this already in a previous program, and I told you what was my position on that already. I think it was a bad contract. and I think that the contract should have been renegotiated. I don't think Mr. Norton is really being very serious, because this was a position he should have been taken a long time ago. And the fact that he's bringing it up only at this point in time looks to me like an electoral gimmick.
Okay. Okay. But you think it should be renegotiated?
Of course, I mean, I will always support for us to get more from the oil industry. It's a wasting asset. It don't grow back. So I think that we should try to get as much as we could get from it.
But the CEO for Exxon and Guyana, Routledge, just said that if anyone attempt to renegotiate the contract, that would be a breach of government laws in Guyana, and companies will not want to come here to invest because they will not trust governments anymore. If a government changes, they want to change something in a contract. And he said that should not be. A government contract should be established once and for all. No matter which government comes to office, that contract should be maintained throughout.
Well, that's the attitude that our government is taking too. I think they agreed with him that that they want to show that okay, they respect contracts and so forth. But I don't necessarily believe Mr. What's his name?
Routledge.
If you look at oil industry all over the world, it's true in some cases, some type of industries, people run away and people don't want to invest and so forth, but not in oil. Oil, you have wars going on in Angola and big war, but they're still investing and producing and going into oil. And all over the world, you find, in fact, sometimes the oil industry gets into interference in financing armed groups and all of that taking place. So I take what he says with a heavy dose of salt.
So, okay. Now, I want to go to something here. You know, the bank, I think is one of the banks recently terminated the bank accounts of certain persons who are supporting the Win party, Mohammed's party. Do you think that bank acted in good faith? Do you think they should have terminated the contracts of those people?
But I would be, it would be unfair for you to ask me that question, because I don't know all the circumstances in which the bank or why the bank has been doing that. Have they been told that their bank would have come under pressure from correspondent banks in the United States? Are they trying to protect themselves in this way? Or are they doing it by themselves without any of these things happening? So I will answer you conditionally. If they are getting pressure from outside, I could understand their position. Whether I agree with it or not is another matter. But I could understand what they're doing. But from the point of view of if they are anticipating what will happen and doing it without any kind of pressure, but I think that would be pretty wrong.
I want our listeners to know one thing. And as I said, some people might say I'm anti-government, anti-opposition, but I take a neutral stand. The U.S. Constitution states that one has the right to associate with any group, parties, or individuals of their choice. United Nations Charter, I think, is 148 mentioned the same thing. And I think our Constitution in Guyana mentioned the same thing. So if someone associated with Mohammed, why would the U.S. want to impose sanctions on that bank when their Constitution states that unless they're making a mockery of the Constitution, their own Constitution?
And that is where I can't really answer you, because I don't have any facts. I mean, what I know is what you know, what is in the press, and I don't know what the bank is coming under. So I will not be able to be more definitive with you.
Someone has sent me a question here. I don't know to ask you this question, but I'll ask it. It says, when Booker's was in Guyana, when Alken was in Guyana, these are big companies that go about servicing various communities in their regions and outside of their regions. Like Booker's build sports, Grounded Sports Club, they produce their own, Kanai's, Basil Butcher, and these people, Alken track and field and so forth. But it said Exxon is not doing any of this. And I think I think they're very, very cheap and very, very mean, and they want to exploit Guyanese.
I think, I mean, you got to take into consideration Booker was there for hundreds of years, and Alcan was here from pretty early in the last century. Guyana's bauxite industry is one of the oldest industry in the world, and
Yeah.
so they were here for a long time and so forth. So Exxon is a pretty relatively new company. So let's see what they will do in the future.
Okay, let's get deep into politics now. The PP campaign has taken off in full, all over the place. You've seen, I traveled from the quarantine coming down to Georgetown, all of the East Coast, all of the East Bank, all over. Their flags are on all poles. They got big signs all over the place. So their campaign has taken off. Whereas APNU is still struggling against because of lack of finances and so forth, and the other third parties. But Mohammed campaign seems to be taking off too. He's attracting large crowds, given the fact, though, that crowds don't normally translate or convert into votes. Now, you know, when Rodney was there, he attracted a lot of people, but he did not live to fight an election. So we didn't know what going to be the outcome. The AFC was there. The AFC attracted a lot of people. Somehow, your government in 2011 ended up in a minority government. The AFC pulled a lot of votes from the quarantine with Moses and Camerons, the PEP, and Ramaya. And in 2015, they joined with the coalition, defeated the PEP government. What you think Mohammed is doing is a new phenomenon, but you think it's going to gain traction throughout the campaign?
I don't think so. As you said, a lot of the following he's getting is because he's new. You know, when newness tend to attract curiosity and so forth. And apart from that, I think he has been endowed with some good resources, and that seems to be part of the attraction that he's having. So I think that as the campaign goes on more and more, and as he is forced more and more to try to come out and answer questions and policies and programs and so on and so forth, I believe that he will falter. I think that this election, the PPP is going to be a pretty good election for the PPP. It might very well be them having the biggest majority, because from what I am seeing, might be wrong, but from what I'm seeing is that the constant position of the PPP from its very inception against racism is finally paying off. I believe people are beginning to see that that the PPP has never been a racial party, and more and more people are recognizing that. That came out clearly at the local government election, and I was interested to see how it will translate in this election. So this will be one of the interests that I will be looking at this election, which I believe that the PPP can do much better among crossover votes than it has done in the past, largely because it has demonstrated over and over again that it does not discriminate on the basis of race, and that is discrediting. It's amazing that those who keep peddling this line, that they don't see that they're beginning to do harm to themselves now, because I think that is discrediting a lot of the propaganda from the opposition itself, and because it doesn't correspond to reality on the ground, and so this will be one of the features of this election that will be very interesting for me.
I want you to put on your advisory cap. You're not advising the government, you're advising our audience here. If you were running the presidential candidate against Norton, let me deal with Norton first. You're not advising the government, you're advising our audience. What strategies you will use against the PNC APNU?
Well,
Campaign strategy.
but I think that I think what the PPP is doing is probably they're doing the right thing. They're emphasizing not only their achievements, but they are talking about what they will do if elected in the next term. And the PPP does have, that's one of the things, that there's no political party in Guyana that can put their record close to the PPP as far as achievements are concerned. Even as we talk now about oil and so forth, but we know that the non-oil economy as well has been doing pretty well at this point in time. And the administrators in the country are pretty conscious of what is happening, because I see them speaking constantly about looking at other poles for economic development, and not only on oil or not only on rice. Sugar, they got to try to rehabilitate, but in agriculture, you have crops like coconut. I believe cocoa, that we can do well in cocoa. They're doing something like in the farming in the Borbis River, broadening diversifying in our agriculture. I think that those are things that needs to be done, and so that we won't be caught with only a one or two items economy that we had in the past, or colonial economy with rice and sugar and bauxite. That we could have a much broader base to stand on, and any one of those things get into crisis, we can have it compensated by the other section of the economy. Because even the non-oil economy in Guyana has been probably outpacing the rest of the region in its growth and development.
One of my listeners is calling me a racist that I'm promoting APNU, and you should not have answered no questions on APNU. Can you believe this? Anyway, now, what strategy would you use? Tell our viewers, this is not for the government. Your advisory strategy would you use against Mohammed, given the fact that we can't run away from the fact he attracts large crowds. But as you said, people are curious about the new.
I think we're probably doing him a favor with the amount of attention we're giving him. I think we should concentrate.
I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
I think that the PPP should. They don't need. They need just to continue to emphasize their achievements and their future plans. And of course, they you in politics you can't say not to deal with them at all. But I think he's getting far too much attention.
So your strategy is to ignore him to a large extent.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, not totally to ignore him, because as you said, he'd been attracting crowds. So once he's attracting crowds, you have to be aware of that. But I still think that the crowd that he's attracting, I wonder if a lot of those people I saw on nomination day that went with him to the nomination, I wonder if half of them are registered. There are people who don't give a damn sometimes.
Okay. I want to come to something that's been bothering me for the longest while. Let me ask you a question. Who is in charge of Lapeteur Cemetery to keep it clean? The city?
Who's that? The city.
Who is in charge to keep the cemetery Lapeteur clean? Is the city?
Yeah, the city. It is the city. It is the city. But I think government has said that they've seen the crisis in the situation there. And even when I was president, from time to time, we pumped in a lot of money into it and used the resources in the Ministry of Works to try to clean it up, and then hope that the city would continue to maintain it. But it always seems to be slipping back into a pretty disgraceful situation. But what I would like to say is not only the repentir that is the problem. I mean, the couple of funerals I go to the different parts of the country, a lot of those grounds are in a bad way. NDCs and so forth, and they don't seem to be given any priority to the dead at all.
I will say this. I passed by La Pretere last Saturday, and you can't see cute tombs. It's a forest. It's a
It used to be much
forest.
worse.
The city is in charge. Pardon me?
It used to be much worse. I think the government had started cleaning up on it. They had done a lot of cleaning, weeding, and so on at one time, and it wasn't looking too bad. But then it slipped back.
But I can tell you that has not been clean for the past 2 years. The tallness of the trees. And one thing I will say to this government, if it's the city and the city can't keep it clean, bite the bullet and you do the job. Respect those people who died there. Let them have a clean cemetery. Let the tombs be seen. I would have just bite the bullet. Remove the city of this. Take it over and clean it. It's not a cost. You have the resources to do it. Because it's a shameful thing that thousands of people are buried there. And look at that cemetery. You can't find no pathway to get any place there.
I don't
I
think you
paused
have
and I
any.
had to stop and I said, wait a minute. Is this for real in this country?
I don't think you'll have any debate on that. Everybody that I know talk about it, not
I
in a good
was
way.
shocked. I didn't, oh my gosh. It's the worst cemetery I think you can see in the entire world. So I'm saying to the government, bite the bullet. You keep it clean. And doing so, you're respecting the people who died there. They've served this country one way or the other, and you should give them that respect. But I know it's a struggle between the city and the
It
government
had been a
who want
problem
and
for
so forth.
some time, this had been a problem for some time, and um, it really needs to be dealt with in a as you said, in a final kind of way. Maybe set up some type of authority to deal with it and make sure it's in good condition. Also, some very, very important people are buried there. And then you go to other cemeteries around the world. It's far different and a lot of reverence to some of the well-known popular people who died and buried there, historical figures and so forth. You go to Paris into their cemetery, the wall of the communards, and a lot of important people are there. You could go and spend a lot of time. You can learn history in there with some of the things that are in there.
I haven't seen the Bush Cemetery in Europe nor Latin America. I am saying the government should bite the bullet. We know it's the city. The city said they don't have the money to clean that place. You take it over and you clean it, just for the sake of respecting those dead people. As you said, a lot of interested people are buried there. Just show them that respect. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to fuss with the city. Do what you're supposed to do. As Obama wife said, when they go low, you go high. Just do the right thing to make sure you respect the dead there. That's all the government has to do. Keep that place as clean as possible. Forget about the NDC, forget about the city, forget about whatever it is. Keep it clean. That's all I could say. Now, you think the pension at $42,000 old age pension should be increased,
I didn't hear that. Could you
given the
repeat
cost of living?
the
Old
pension?
age pension, which is pegged at $40,000 now, yeah. Do you think it should be increased?
I think it has to do with the affordability. We started this meeting by talking about free money being given away and so on and so forth. I think it has to do with affordability. Of course, if you can't also allow it to raise to a level, let's say, becoming more than the minimum wage and things like that. So I think it has to do with affordability, but at the same time, it got to have some kind of relationship with some of the minimum wage and so forth that exists within the society itself. I think it's a little bit more complicated than just able to give you a straight answer on the issue right away.
Okay, that's reasonable. Here's my next question to you. Most of the Caribbean islands, retirement age at 60, peg at 62. Some countries at 60, we at 55. When people
Mhm,
retire at 55, they go on and give their services.
mhm.
That's probably the best of the years with experience to other countries. Do you think we should increase the retirement age to at least 60 or 62?
Well, the problem is with that, it will have some issues with the labor movement. Labor movement will see that as I think it has to be negotiated. I think it has to do that. I think you have to prepare it in a pretty long way. I don't think you can do it, click your fingers and do it like that, because people could tend to see it as taking away some of the benefits that they've had. And but I agree with you. I think 55 is much too young for people to retire. 60, 62 seems to be a more reasonable age. And even nowadays, like in all the developed countries where life expectancy is getting higher in the 80s and so forth, there is even some efforts to increase the retirement age, because they have another problem too, because in many of those developed countries, they have a problem with birth rate, low birth rate and so forth. So they want people to work more. So, and that will happen in countries like ours too, as the economic situation becomes better. That has been seen all over the world. When the economic situation become better, um, the it it acts automatically like a kind of a birth control. People have smaller families, 2 and 3 children, and so forth. I mean, I come from a family where we had 11 children in our family, and none of my well, only one of my brother got quite a bit of kids, but the rest of us got 1, 2, and 3 kids.
So you think it should be increased? Because indeed, people are the best years, they got at least 6, 7 more years experience to go abroad and give that sort. So we should keep them here. And because unemployment is so low now, people can't find people to work, then you should keep these people. Another question I have for you here. You retired at 55, but you don't get NIS until you're 60, I think, or 62.
Yeah, yeah, 60.
And during that period of time, when you retire period 55, this is where I found it clumsy. The government will go out and hire contract or put workers, hire them on contract. Why don't keep the people they hire and hire new people on contract? Or go back and rehire them on contract? Why do this? Is there a reason for that?
Well, if you have reached a certain stage where you have to retire because you've reached pensionable age, and you've reached pensionable, I don't think the government has much of an option. If a person reach a pensionable age, they got. Let's say that I think according to the law is that you can retire at 55, but if you want, you can work up to 60. But when you reach 60, then you should retire. And when you retire then, and if the government wants to keep your service, then I don't think they have another option to keep you in your job. They have to retire you, and then if they want to hire you back, they hire you on contract. I don't think they
So you're
have a
saying public
choice with
service
that.
will work up,
Huh?
public service have the option to work until 60?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, they can retire at 55, but they can work up to 60 if they want. If they agree to work up to 60.
So if they retired 55, don't you think they should have the NIS?
Well, I suspect that one of the reasons that one of the thinking behind that is because that they are allowed to work until 60 if they want to. So I suspect when that decision was taken some time ago, the thinking probably was that, well, if a person really that bad, he's not forced to retire at 55, he can continue to work until 60 and then collect the NIS. I suspect that was the thinking. I mean, we can debate whether that is right or wrong to do, you know?
MPs, tell me, how many years MPs have to serve in Parliament before they can get a pension?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure offhand. I'm not sure offhand.
Not 3 years?
I'm not sure. Possibly. I'm not sure. I'm not
So why
100%
wouldn't
sure.
MP be paid a pension after 3 or 5 years? Because I know MPs who've been in Parliament. I'm not gonna call the names, and they've served 3 years. I think during the time when they had the threatened the vote of no confidence, you had some MPs there who did not reach 3 years, and you kept Parliament going until they reached 3 years, and then you dissolved Parliament after. I know two MPs got
That
the
was not
pension
a
after.
that was not a consideration though for me
I
at that
know,
time when
but
that was
Parliament
not
was
a
going, and they've reached 3 years, and they're getting the pension as we speak today. I know two of them.
Mhm.
My question to you, why would MPs only serve 3 years in Parliament and get a pension? And I have to work until 55 or 60.
Well, that is if that is the rules and that is the system that we've had all the time. I don't think you should deprive people of that possibility. If that is what the rules in the parliament, and that is the how it's operating all the time in parliament. How could you change that?
But it's not written in stone, so we should be able to change it to make it
Well,
equal across the board. Someone said life and balance at all. MPs, I become an MP tomorrow, go there for 3 years, I get a pension. I quit, I go and do another job. Why
well,
not why not wait until I'm if you serve 3 years, you're entitled to a pension. Why not wait until you're 65 to get a pension? Or 60? Why you get it right away as soon as you finish 3 years? That's the question.
I can't answer. I haven't been following that closely. I can't really answer you. That was a good question to put to the parliamentary affairs people and so forth.
If Parliament has a law, and I'm saying this,
It's how
without
it's a practice that they have all the time. I mean, that's part of the thing.
I know,
I suspect
but I'm
that I
saying
suspect
it
that
happened in other
seeing that
countries too.
I
But I'm
suspect
saying,
the very fact that the person is serving at the highest forum within the country itself, maybe it entitles them to that. You know,
but I'm saying, okay, they're entitled to that. But I'm saying, why they get it as soon as they serve 3 years, they get if they're 35 years old, they start getting a pension. And I have to wait until 55 or 60 to get mine if I'm working in this government or if I'm
yeah, but
working in Guyana.
it's different rules, right? Different rules that exist for these things. It's different conditions, different rules that you have.
But do you think those rules are fair?
Um, I wouldn't say that it's unfair either. I mean, because you have more responsibility, you have more, you have constituency, you have, that if you functioning as an effective parliamentarian, going down on the ground and meeting people and so on and so forth. I also believe that over the years we have enhanced the package, the salary that member of parliament used to get. When I got in parliament in 1992, the pension of that the money paid to you at that time was pretty low, and over the years it has been increasing. But it wasn't because it wasn't really like a full-time parliament you have. That you parliament is not called every day like in some countries where you have parliament almost every day. You have like a part-time type of parliament and so forth. So this is not it's over a period of time that I think the condition in parliament has improved. Parliamentarian conditions have been improved.
I'll pose a question to you, but I don't know if you can answer it. And it came from another viewer here. But I know you can answer it because that's why I'm taking a lot of questions from our viewers today. Under the Burnham, when Ghana gained independence, it became one people, one nation, one destiny. Am I right?
Uh,
Now President Ali is making it one. President Ali's initiative is one Guyana. This view is saying that he just want to kill the Burnham concept. Was it the Burnham concept or the nation concept? Which one? I don't even know. one people, one nation, one destiny?
The PNC government at the time of independence adopted it, but it actually came in 1957. It was first used in 1957. Brindley Ben was the Minister of Education and Culture at the time, and he started what was called a History and Culture Week. And on the theme of the History and Culture Week, he was the one who came up with the slogan, "One People, One Nation, One Destiny." So it was used from 1957 within the History and Culture Week, and when we became independent, the PNC adopted it as the national motto of the country.
Who was the Minister of Education then? Wasn't Forbes Barnum?
No, Brindley Ben. Brindley Ben. Brindley Ben was from 1957 to 1959. Then Balram Singh Rai became the minister after that because Edward Bihari was removed from the cabinet, and Brindley Ben took over his position as Ministry of Natural Resources. And Balram Singh Rai was then brought into the cabinet first as Minister of Education and Culture. And then after the 1961 election, he became Minister of Home Affairs. And Brindley Ben remained in that position at Natural Resources. And
so
Noons,
Ben
in
was
1961, Noons became Minister of Education.
But Brindley Ben wasn't the Vice Premier or Deputy Premier or something?
Yes, but he also had ministerial responsibility as well.
But when Nunes became the Minister of Education, 62, 63?
61, after the 61 elections.
Folks, you see why I have President Ramator? He's not only a politician, but he's an historian as well. He brought something back I did not even know. If I read it, maybe it slipped me. Thanks for that. Now, so the One People, One Nation, One Destiny came back way back in 1957. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's 57 or 58 when they started the History and Culture Week.
So it was not a PNC concept or anything of the sort.
PNC adopted it and made it the national motto.
So this view is saying President Ali won Guyana is to kill that concept. Do you believe that?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think President Ali was. I don't think he's killing the national motto. It's just that he was talking about one Guyana, me and everybody. But I don't think he's doing that
in order to get people involved, to get people unified and everything else.
I don't think he's doing that to play down our national motto. I don't think so at all.
Okay.
I think that would be a wrong reading of
that's my understanding of it too, that he's doing it to bring the people together, to unite the country.
Right.
And talk about one guy.
Yeah. And I think it's not that I don't think that he had this conception to put out. I think he spoke about it impromptu and it took off. It got traction in some ways. One guy.
I think I traced it, and I could be wrong. Only President Ali can say this word. I traced it to show Maduro that we won Guyana. We not Essequibo down and separate from us.
Yeah, we won one guy. So he made it into a speech and so forth, and it took off. Right. And people liked it.
I think he made that speech.
I don't think it's in his. I don't think it's in his mind at all to substitute that for the national motto. I don't see that.
I think he made that speech to repel what Maduro was doing sometime, I think it was in 2021 or 2022, to tell him that we won Guyana. Escrow belongs to us and what have you. You know, I think that's the time he made it. But I have to ask him one of these days how he came about that. Now, going back to elections, we have about 6 or 7 third parties registered to contest this election. Is that something good or bad?
I think it's bad. I don't think that they will make any impact in these elections. But I think you and I had this conversation already in one of our previous shows that we had, when I was telling you that the proportional representation system that we have tends to fragment our politics and tend to encourage people to organize under different kind of interests, racial based and all of that and so forth. And and it tends to create weak governments. Part of the problem that what is happening today in Israel is because of that system that they have. They have about 4 or 5 parties in the government, and competing interests, and look at what it ended up to a genocide. Um, so I don't think it's a good thing. I believe that, as I've said before, I believe we should go back to the first past the post system, like the rest of the Caribbean and most of the Commonwealth, where you have the first past the post system there. Even if you look at South Africa, where there's a lot of praise for the South African constitution, look at what it's causing in South Africa. It's fragmenting the politics right now, the same PR system that we have here. And one of the reasons that the ANC doesn't have a majority is because there was organization, the Zulu votes did not go to the ANC this time. So if you look at all of those examples, you can see that it's doing a lot of harm. And we should probably have a big public discussion on this issue, and look at the pros and cons on it.
I agree with you on that. Now, the last time you were here, I didn't get to talk about GCOM. Now, the Carter Center created something in 1992, and it is my understanding it's supposed to last only for that election. But GCOM remains until today, with 3 members from the opposition, 3 members from the government. That is a recipe for disaster, creating gridlock.
Not necessarily, it worked well for a long time. And let me make this point to you, because I hear some of the opposition people, particularly Vincent Alexander, saying some of the same thing that you were saying there. But it was the PNC who insisted that it become constitutionalized, to put it in the Constitution, that they believe it was such a good system that when we were looking at the Constitution in 1997 and writing the new Constitution in 1997, this was always an administrative issue where you could have changed it without any issues and so forth. It is on the basis of the PNC recommendation, strong recommendation, that it became constitutionalized, because they liked it very much. They think it was, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, of course, the best thing is to have is if you could have a non-partisan, but where are you going to find that? Look at how hard it is to find 6 names to choose the chairman of the Elections Commission. So if we didn't have the kind of system that we have in 2020, the PNC might have rigged the elections, because if you have people who didn't have the kind of interest of what is going on, people with some kind of political acumen in their heads, the PNC might have very well succeeded in rigging the 2020 elections. So I'm not sure. My mind is open to it. I'm not arguing against what you're saying, but I'm saying that we should think about it. It has its pros and cons, and I want to say, because the propaganda is turning out to be like the PPP love this system so much that we don't want to change it. It was not us who constitutionalized it.
Look, I'm not saying it's a bad system. As you said, it worked. But I'm saying the Carter came up with this.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
But we liked it.
I don't know who
that. Look, Carter made a recommendation in 1992 to deal with a specific issue at the time. It worked well.
Right.
And they also, and let me make this point to you. When Carter put it in 1992, at one time the PPP had 3 people on the commission that were not members of the PPP. You had Miles Fitzpatrick, you had Bud Mangal and Moen Macdoom. 3 persons who were not members of the PPP, but because we thought that they were fair people, that they were people of integrity, that they will not stand by and see anything go wrong. We put them, but I'm telling you again now, in 1997, we had a lot of discussions with the parliamentary parties going on. And the idea to put this in the Constitution came from the PNC. And now they're trying to put a lot of people trying to put the blame on the PPP and what have you.
No, I don't think anyone putting the blame on the PPP. I don't think so. But my contention is this, and I want everyone to listen to me. You don't have 6 people when you have to have a vote on something. You have to add odd numbers, 5, 7, 9, 11.
But that's why
So
you
that
have 7 people.
you will not have an even vote and force the chairperson to vote to break the tie. Because Claudia has been forced to break the tie many times, and she break it in some cases in favor of the PP. So the PNC commissioners are arguing that she's a PP. But she should never be put in that situation. It should be 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, odd numbers, and you will
But
not have this problem.
it is 7 persons now. There's 7 persons.
Who is the 7th person?
It's 3 PPP nominated. PPP nominated 3 people. The
Right.
PNC nominated 3. The opposition 3 persons, and then the chamber is chosen by a different process.
No, but I'm saying the chairperson should never be allowed to vote to break a tie. It should be 5, 7, 9, 13, whatever numbers you want to put.
What is wrong with what you're saying there? It sounds good, no, but when you put it to the test, it never worked. Look, PPP made so much a concession when they were rewriting that constitution. We agreed. It wasn't in the constitution before 1997. In the constitution to appoint the chief justice and the chancellor, it was the president who appointed it with having had consultation with the leader of the opposition. We agreed with in order to all this thing that you talk about inclusivity and all of that. We agreed to put in that we must have agreement, and we only had one time we had agreement, and that was when Desiree Bernard was chosen to be the chancellor, because the PNC. When I was president, I remember I invited the then leader of the opposition, Mr. Granger, and he gave me no reasons he said, I told him that that time it was Kar Singh and Ian Chang were acting as chancellor and chief justice. And I said, these men have been acting for 8 years when I got in government then. They have no complaints against them. Their rulings, nobody have made any objection to their ruling. All the rulings have been, nobody made a controversy of their ruling. And therefore, I think that they should be appointed as Chancellor and Chief Justice. And he just said no. He didn't even put up an argument. He just said no. He disagreed. No argument. I put up an argument that there is nothing that we can say that these people, they have ruled in favor of the government, they have ruled in favor of the opposition. No, everybody agreed that their decision was based on law. Why not appoint them? No, the PPP is not in that position. And right now, the PPP is not in that position. You have issues where some of these decisions that were taken is very, very suspicious. The most glaring one is this question about the elections. What is half of 65? The 33 is not a half of 65. You remember that?
Yeah.
And many others. If you look at how many decisions were overturned by the Caribbean Court of Justice, then you will see that it would appear that political consideration was involved in some of the decisions that were made. That therefore, how can you ask the PPP to agree with something like that?
No, but I'm coming back to my point. So having 3 and 3, 6, 3 opposition and 3 from the government. Mm-hmm. I'm saying, how many justices are in the Supreme Court of the United States? Guyanians like to quote the United States, and politicians like to quote what exists in the States a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, I don't want to quote the United States, but I'll just do it for this one example. How many justices are in the United States Supreme Court? There are 9. Mm-hmm. How many justices in the Canadian Supreme Court? There are
But 9. We have been increasing, under me, the whole, I increased it when I was president. And I think recently again, it was increased. I don't know exactly what the figure
what you increased?
The complement of judges. And
I'm not talking about that. I'm still talking the numbers.
Yeah, the numbers
have been increased in the Supreme Court of the United States.
And so you're not going to get... not 9 people sitting at one time. I think 3 people sit. That's our That's our
I know,
rules.
I know, but in the
And
United
then
States,
what I'm saying, but they have a broader amount of pool that they can call on. No.
no, I think you misinterpreted what I'm saying. I'm looking
Uh,
at the structure of JCOM, the 3 and 3, 6, an even
uh,
number. I'm saying
right.
the Supreme Court of the United States have an odd number of justices. In Canada, an odd number of justices. The Privy Council, odd number. The ICJ, an odd number. And even our local appeals court, there are 3 justices at a time. Why not put 4 and then let it tie? So why we have 3 and 3 at GCOM? That's the argument I'm trying to make. I'm not
No,
disputing the
but
fact that they're not
the
enough.
chairman is part of the commission.
Yeah, but the chairman
The
should not be put in this
chairperson,
situation to break a tie, though. That's my point.
why not? Why not? The thinking behind it is that nobody will ever get the ideal person that they want into that position. It has to be a compromise. And therefore, you expect that the person who will be there is not a PNC hack or not, nor is it a PPP hack. That is why I think the formula that Carter came up with, that was the thinking of him at the time. Because what we had before, you had Justice Ballas, who was a PNC hack. You had before him, who had Jackson, was it Donald Jackson? Before him, who the PNC hack as well. Nothing, no other views were listened to. So this was a compromise of how
I
these people
understand,
perform.
but the chancellor should remain neutral and not be allowed to vote. That's my thing.
But
Anyway,
but that is the whole formula was designed to see that that the chairperson is a more neutral type of person. It's neither a PVP nor a PNC. That is why it was designed
okay, I
in the way
agree.
it was designed.
Okay. Anyway, the Carter Center came here and democracy was restored, which I give credit to the Carter Center and the Carter people then.
I
But
don't
I
give
have
credit.
problems with
I
Jimmy
give credit to
Carter.
the struggle of the Guyanese people. I mean, I can't ignore the struggle of the Guyanese people. I can't ignore the death of Jagan Ramasar and Bolanat Parmanan fighting for free and fair elections. I can't ignore all the comrades who have been jailed and locked up. Can't ignore the contribution of Rodney and many of his own comrades and so forth at the time. To say that the Carter Center gave us democracy is wrong. I'm not saying that they didn't make a contribution, but the fundamental contribution was made by our own struggles here,
Right,
by the
but they
people of
brought a
this country.
concept to help restore democracy.
Yeah, they did, and we accepted it. It's not that
Right,
they imposed it on us. It was a
right.
suggestion by the Carter Center that all of us accepted. And I said, and I mentioned to you earlier that the PNC probably loved it even more than us. That's why they insisted upon
Okay,
it in the
fine.
Constitution.
But
Uh,
here the problems I have with Jimmy Carter, not only in Guyana, he goes about in Africa, he goes with other countries, trying to restore democracy. And how the people vote should be counted and so forth. And he has done it in 11 countries in Africa, I checked, about 4 countries in South America, and Guyana is another one there too, and so forth. I have no problems with that. I believe people should be allowed to vote and everything else. But you know what I would have told Jimmy Carter, someone who lives in the States and teaching in the States? In his own Georgia, blacks were not allowed to vote. I need to move a straw to get him to vote. That's the problem I have with him. In Tennessee, in Alabama, blacks are not allowed to vote. Because when blacks go to register, they have to show 3 ID cards, and a white go to show 1. And what are 3 ID cards you have to have? A passport, your driver's license. They say you must have a national ID card. And they refuse to give blacks national ID cards.
no,
And
but
Carter did not fight for blacks to vote in the South.
I will agree with you with all of that. But at the same time, I would say that Carter Center has made a valuable contribution to election processes all over the
I
world, not only
agree.
in Guyana,
I support
not
it
only in Guyana.
100%.
And I wouldn't I wouldn't take the position that they have no, because what you're practically saying is they have no moral right. But I can only look at their
No, they
performance.
have the moral right to do it here in other countries. I agree. But I'm saying they should have the same moral right to do it in their own country,
But
Carter.
I
And
think
right in
that
Carter, Georgia, right in the state, right in the where Carter came from, is penal for blacks were not allowed to vote right there. And he did not do
right.
anything to get them to vote. He was
Well,
governor of Georgia, did not do a single thing. As a matter of fact, he passed laws repressing more black votes than anything else than any other governor in Georgia. and he going about telling people dictate. I agree that democracy, broad democracy, and so forth, and support that. So
He
the
didn't bring
same word
democracy
attitude he
again.
had in those countries, he should have had it in his own country.
Let me insist on that. He played a role, and that we must recognize the role that he played. But it is our people who struggle for democracy in this country.
I
They're the
agree.
ones who went to jail. Look, they're the workers in this country, went to jail, tear gas in their cell, all of that. And many titanic struggles that are being played down by people. Some of these people, I would say that they probably want colonialism this time by invitation when I see some of the letters that they write in the newspaper. So I just want to insist on that. Carter Center play a role, and we must recognize that they played an important role.
I agree.
But the
No, I
main role
support
was
that.
played by our people.
I support that. Now let me go to something. When the NDC came into being under Barnum, right? I think it was in 1980, somewhere there, NDCs and RDCs. Am I right?
Right.
Has there any reform done on these state entities, NDCs and RDCs, on their functions?
Not a great amount, but not a great amount. In my mind, I think not a great amount of reform was done. The biggest thing that was different is under the PNC, most of it was rigged, and the people who were on those councils did not represent their constituency. Now they do represent their constituency, but I think there's a lot. In my view, I think a lot of needs to be done in training them, in getting them more acquainted with the laws and the rules, and getting them to really serve as people's representatives and so on. But in many
Here's
cases,
something I want to say to you and to all Guyanese who don't know this. Like, I have an organization of the quarantine where I'm from, and like emancipation, we want to have a function. You have to have a permit from the police. President Rambatar, do you know what you have to go through to get a permit? You don't know. Let me tell you.
As far as I know, you don't have to get a permission from the police for the activity. I don't know if it's changed now. But
No,
what
you
I
have
do
to.
know,
You have to.
you have to get a permission for using like loudspeaking equipment.
And you have to get
so
a
on,
permission for even selling liquor and everything else, which you have to
Yeah,
get
yeah, but
permission.
that time
But
immemorial,
listen to this. First, the NDC got to agree and give an acceptance letter.
No, I
They take that
agree
to the EPA.
these
No,
bureaucratic things.
I want to give you the bizarre things people have to go through. They take it to the EPA. This, if you have a wedding, you got to take it to the EPA to get permission from the EPA, and you got to pay money going all online. The NDC charges $2,000, the EPA charges $5,000. Then you got to go to the police, not the police, the fire department. So if you keep it in an open park, they have to come to see if a house is going to catch a fire. They know houses around there, but they still have to come and see. So you got to go pay the money to the fire department.
I agree that a lot of these things need to be reformed. I mean, I
want people to know this. From the fire department, you got to go to the GRA.
You should reduce the GRA,
you got to take it to the police now. I got to take the police in your district. So in our case, it goes to the police. If it goes to the police station number 51. Yeah. 51 will come and assess to see where this function is being kept, but they don't come any place. They just, but they kept it there in the desk for a week or 2 weeks. They got to go to Skeldon, which is a central location, for it to be assessed again. They got to come to New Amsterdam, where the commander has to sign off on it. But listen to this. After the commander signs off on it, it got to go to a magistrate to sign off on it too. It is the most bizarre thing I've seen in my entire life.
Yeah,
it is
crazy. What you're saying there, it shows that the system cries out for change. It should be simplified.
How can any government allow the system to take place? The NDC, the EPA, the fire department.
I don't even know if some of the government people are aware of some of these things, because you've got so many other things to do when they're people at more central level.
I'm not trying to accuse the government people, because
you got to bring it to their attention. Like this program. I hope this program will bring it to their attention, and somebody should take
I hope they bring it to the attention
responsibility
indeed,
to change
because
it, you know?
we got to go through this every year, and we raising funds to
Yeah.
help the people. And plus, you have to pay the policemen to come to your function. The policemen, I don't know what to make a day or a month, but you got paying them like $8,000 a day. And you know what they tell you? They have to send 4 policemen there, which is $30,000, and an inspector, $12,000 for him. So you got to pay them $44,000 to the police department when you have a function. You got to pay the EPA $5,000. You got to pay the NDC $2,000. I don't think you have to pay the firemen, but if firemen come there, they charge you transportation costs. You don't have to pay the judge. Then it goes to the police. The police take it to one station, to the next station, to the next station. This is the wrong you get, and I hope those who are in authority to listen to this to get away with that stupid system.
Yeah,
it is backwardness at its most.
What you're describing.
This
what
thing
you're
takes
describing there,
a full month. Huh?
What you're describing there cries out for change. That's what you know.
And you end up paying over $50,000 before you can get a police permit to have even a wedding at your house. Because the last 2 weekends ago, there was a wedding at Skeldon. A friend of mine got married there, and they had all the permits. A police officer walked into that guy's premises at 10 o'clock at night and pulled the plug from the walls to stop the music, because he said neighbors complained about the music, and these people had a permit. And you know what happened? All neighbors jump up. Which neighbor complained? All the neighbors are here. Next door, everybody here. Opposite, everybody here. Who complained? He said all he can say, neighbors complain. Who are the neighbors? He can't say. But you know why he did that? Something called bribe. That's how ridiculous they are. And I'm calling a spade a spade. I don't care who said whatever they want to say about me. But that's what the police are doing. To get a permit, you got to go through 9 different, and they charge you to come to your function. We have in front of the police, they charge $8,000 a day. And the police come there for an hour and they take off. They don't spend 4 hours there.
No, well, okay. Now,
they come for an hour and they're gone.
What you're describing really needs to be changed. Right?
And we had a function, let me tell you this. And I told Commander Bacchus, you charging us all this money. The police came and spent an hour and gone. You know what he told me? The police said, no, they spent 6 hours. So I said, I can bring all the people there to tell when the police leave. So you're going to believe 4 policemen and an inspector. I said, the inspector don't even come there. He don't even show up. But we paid $12,000 for him. This is the thing that got me pissed off with any government that allowed these things to happen to poor people who's just striving to do something. This morning want to have a barbecue to make a little money to help them out, or something, sell barbecue. They have to go through the same thing. That's spent $50,000 in order to get a permit. $50,000. EPA charge 5. Police, the police are telling you how many police officers are going to be there. 4 and an inspector. That's $44,000. EPA 5, NDC 2. And other parts you have to pay. You're not paying $55,000, $60,000 for what? And that's what the poor man complain about. But they fall on deaf ears because the people who are in authority don't listen to nobody. Because you know why? I'm saying to you, they think they know it all. They think they know it all. And I will give you another story with a relative of mine of the East Bank. President Ramatara, listen to this. This woman got 5 children. Her husband died. Running a little taxi to mind her kids and get a little shop. 3 guys stole her car. Okay? The police found the car a week after. And they said the police found the car with drugs inside. This was last year, February month. The police took the guy to the station and put him on $20,000 bail. They just signed a form. They hadn't to pay no money down. And they walked out. They crashed the car. She has spent $366,000 to fix her car. Since last year, February now, this is a Providence police station. No case has been called again because they told the boys related to an inspector there. And I'm going to call his name sometime to come as well. So he's the one who put the guys on bail, they walk out. He has now filed no charge against him. This woman, one of her friends, took the boy's picture from somewhere and put it on Facebook. And they charged her for cybercrime. This is a single mother of 5 children. Lost her car, found the car. She spent $366 to fix the car.
But they got a police
living. Huh?
They got a police complaint authority. She should go and complain there.
She complained, but no,
investigate.
President Ramatar. Don't tell about police authorities. Don't tell about these people who said you must go and complain. People go and complain, they're wasting the time. They take the complaint, never hear from them again. This is last year, she complained. When she went back, she says, who you complain to? Okay, what's your problem? Write a statement. Wrote a statement, give them again last year. She went back again already this year. These boys, what you talking about? Every time she goes, she meets somebody new. There's no documented case that she has something. They have to ensure, yes, this kid is being proceeded. No charge will be filed against these 3 kids, but a file charge against her for cybercrime because a friend posted a picture on Facebook of these 3 people. I spoke to the police officer there. You know what he told me? She could damage this guy's reputation because if they win the case now, I said, you got to be a clown. If you call them red-handed, steal a car, you got to tell me they're going to win the case? I said, you're police? I asked him this, then he hung up the phone. I said, you got to be a clown. I caught you red-handed in the car. You stole the car. Now that I found the car, you were there, you crashed the car. I chased you, crashed the car. I arrested you there. And you're going to tell me these guys could win the case? That's what this police officer is telling me. He's an inspector. If they win the case, she could damage your reputation. So you call them and they'll tell me they could win the case. Look, I tell you, but I'll tell you this, and I'll say it now again. 75% of all cases are settled in police stations in this country. I hope the commissioner is listening to this. I hope Representative listen to this. 75% of all cases in this country are settled in police stations. Who won't take bribe? Settled because of family connections or what have you. 75% and even more. Because if you don't go out on the ground, I just go to the ground, listen to people and do an analysis, something, ask questions and get answers. And usually there's some bizarre things happening. But this is one bizarre case. This one car crashed, a single mother. She's fighting for survival. And since last year, the 11th of February, these guys have not been brought to court as yet. They walk in the street still committing more crimes. And they charge her cybercrime. You know something? They charge her, put her $50,000 bail, and she had to find $50 to pay to be released. The same inspector did that.
No, but I think you need to highlight those things and bring it to the attention of the people.
$50,000 bail to put her on, and she didn't put it there. One of her friends posted it. And they charged her that she gave the information to her friend.
You should take her to see the minister or someone in that regard.
Ministers don't listen to anybody. Ministers don't, look, I try to contact the Minister of Social Services. No calls going through to her. Nothing. No ministers listen to anybody anymore. They become very powerful.
But I think
Lord Acton said it. Power corrupts absolutely. And I
see the ministers go out a lot into the communities, man. Every time you open the paper, you see a minister.
This one went to the ministry, asked to see somebody there. What you go about? They send her back to the police. They send her back to the police. Said that's not a case for us. It's for the police. She got 5 children. Single mother. Get a little shop and run a taxi with the same car to make a living. Single mother. She went to the same Ministry of Social Services. They send her back to the police.
What you're saying is a very unfortunate thing, and it should go to the authority to be dealt with.
Anyway, President Ramatar, you answered all the questions tonight. You did a very good job. I got you on GCOM this time. The last time we didn't get covered GCOM. And it was good. It was good. I ask you to make your closing remarks.
No, but I just I think this is an exciting time in our country, not only from the point of view of the elections, but from the point of view of the prospects that our country has to develop and to increase its prestige, increase its wealth, and increase its prosperity. And that's why I think that this is a very exciting period. I would say You might say I'm biased because I've always been a member of the PPP my whole adult life, but I think that party in government has done an excellent job in transforming this country and modernizing it in many ways. I think there are some areas I hope in the future that they will start to do that to not only to deal with our economy, with agriculture and industry and so forth, but I think we now have the capacity to try to attract some of our best minds back in Guyana in the IT area, where we can probably, the new areas, the new uh, growth areas that you find in that I think in the future, information technology and the various branch of the information technology is going to be extremely important to the economy. And I think that this is one area the government should begin more research and give possibility to those who want to return home to do business and in that area of our life.
Thank you very much. I don't think anyone can dispute the fact that this government has done a fantastic job in the last 4 years, because you're seeing progress all over. It's evident for every eye to see. You can't dispute that. But there are little other things that they have to do, like the thing I mentioned there, they've got to reform that police force. The people don't have confidence in the police force. They've got to do something with that police force. And as I said, to get a permit to have a function, it's ridiculous. The government has to change those laws. Why it has to go to magistrate to sign?
I think maybe you're right. Maybe what is needed is some good, bringing some good management people together to look at a lot of these functions, simplify them, change them up, a kind of a functional audit that we will have within the society, in every branch area, with a view of increasing efficiency. I know that this thing in America has become very unpopular with Elon Musk, but I think the intention is not a bad one in trying to create more efficiency within government. I think it's taken off in a wrong way, but I believe that if the intention is to create more efficiency in government, because government has a tendency of getting over bloated, too many people working, create inefficiencies and so on and so forth. And I think a lot of these key areas, in the public service, in public operations, where the public got to interface with the police, as you pointed out, that they probably need to look at some of the functions and try to simplify it without compromising on security issues and so forth.
I agree. What I don't understand is that we have an open park, open place. It's on our land of the quarantine. There are no houses structured there. Told this to the police. Oh, we still have to drive up and see the place to see if any fire could catch where? There are no houses there. We walk with the chairs to sit down.
Anyway, you're not a specialist in that area. Maybe they know what they're doing.
The fire gonna catch on dirt, on sand. There's only sand there. Anyway, thank you very much, Dr. President Ramatar, for coming on. You've always enlightened us here, and you have done an extremely good job in discussing all the issues ranging from cost of living, third parties, and NDC, GCOM, all those areas we have covered tonight. So I hope you listeners learned something very, very much, and I hope that you'll tune in next Monday again, where we have, I don't know who will be our guest then, but it will be announced during the week. So to all our sponsors and all our listeners, thank you very much. To Noir Singh, thanks very much again for making this program available. Devin Bissoon, Ryan Kissoon, thank you again, our two technical directors. And good night to all of you. I hope you go out and vote on September 1st, because your vote will determine who will become the president of this country and become the government of this country. Your vote is needed. So please go and cast your vote. Do not stay at home. Thank you all. And again, thank you. Special thanks to you, President Ramatar. And you have a pleasant rest of the evening. Thank you.
You too. All the best.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.